YouTube, how's it going? The GOAT House is back. A day after the 2019 NBA draft. And I'm going through pick by pick and grading each pick in the first round. And then I'm giving you my best second round picks. So any of the second round picks that got an A or an A plus from me, we'll be talking about them today. We'll do another video tomorrow with my final winners and losers, kind of taking the teams, putting their drafts together as a whole, including kind of the trades and who they selected, and we'll see who won and lost the draft. But today, in this video, just kind of going through the picks themselves. So a lot to talk about here. Right before we get started, it'd be much appreciated if you can subscribe if you haven't quite yet. I made our new subscriber goal at 40K by the end of the year. That's double, but our support has been awesome lately, and we got some big things coming up, NBA free agency, but what we're really looking forward to, and what we do every year, is cover the NFL season on a daily basis. So can't wait for that. So please subscribe. Anybody that does subscribe, really appreciate you. There's our Twitter in the top right. Link in the description for that, and our Instagram. Clicking that like button, much appreciated as well. Pick one. Right before I show pick one, actually, anybody that watches us during the NFL draft and knows kind of my grading system, it's the same thing. Anybody new, I go off value of the pick. So I'll kind of explain after we reveal pick one. You'll understand it. To me, this makes the most sense. I'm not going to change my system. So pick one, Zion gets an A. So that kind of shows you how my system works here. Because Zion is a dominant player, a prospect we haven't seen in a long, long time. So he's an A-plus prospect. But in terms of value of the pick, I'm not going to go dish out A-pluses for a team for a team that makes the obvious pick. You know, everybody would have made this pick. So it's a great pick. It's an A pick. I'm not going to dish out an extra plus for a pick they shouldn't make. But obviously, dominant player. I mean, I don't really need to go into this. So dominant player, number one prospect on my board. Pelicans, even though they lost Anthony Davis, you know, putting this draft together, they may have gotten better. Pick two is the same situation. My number two player in the draft, Ja Morant. You don't see a point guard like this every draft. Super athletic, can pass. You know, the turnovers is really the only concern. We've seen him play against good competition. Seen him against Florida State. It was a dominant game. Grizzlies get their point guard of the future, which is the most important position on the floor, point guard, in my opinion. So, and I think a lot of people's opinion. So, it's an A pick. It's the right pick, the pick they should have made. So, it's not an A plus, but still a great pick. It's an A. Pick three, it's the same situation. R.J. Barrett, I give it an A. Really growing on me. You know, him as a person. I like his character. You know, the interviews he was doing. You know, he's kind of growing on me. A likable kid. So he's going to score a lot of points for the Knicks. So I mean, I don't want to say the only correct pick. I think a couple other guys could have been a solid pick too. You know, everyone knows I like DeAndre Hunter a lot. But it's the obvious choice, and you can say the right pick. So pick four, things get interesting here because I really like DeAndre Hunter's game. And as you can see, and I want to shout out NBA TV's Twitter account for these graphics. These graphics are very cool. On the left side, you know, I kind of edit the grades, my thoughts on the grades, and then I plugged in the teams they're actually going to. So the Lakers technically drafted this player, DeAndre Hunter, for the Atlanta Hawks. As you can see, the Hawks logo right above the Lakers logo. Very cool graphics here, though. But I love this pick. And then for them to go up and get a player like this and make the right choice, you know, kind of all that factoring in, bumps it up to an A+. Top defender in the drafts, and right there with Zion, and he can score. People forget he can score in different ways. It's kind of Kawhi-like. He's not going to be Kawhi Leonard, or maybe he could be one day, but kind of Kawhi-like. Great pick for the Hawks. Way to gamble. Definitely worth it. Pick five, Darius Garland. I gave it a B+. B+ is still a good grade. And why is he still get a good grade? Because he's Darius Garland. I like his talent. I like his game. Why it can't be an A? There's some risk. You know, even no matter which team got him, there was some risk before the draft because he, you know, had an injury. And his, you know, passing really wasn't the best, but can be improved on. But he can score. Another reason why it's an even bigger risk now is because they took Colin Sexton last year. Their plan is to use both. So I guess since Garland's not the best passer, maybe he can play the 2 spot because he can shoot too. So I like it, but I can't really love it because there is a lot of risk. It's a good player though, so they get a B+. At pick number 6, the T-Wolves actually traded up took the Suns pick. I think a good trade for the T-Wolves. They didn't give up. I thought they would have to give up a future pick along with the player in there, because going from 11 to 6 doesn't sound a lot, but it is. The jump from 11 to 6 is huge, especially on this draft. And Jarrett Culver was one of those top-tier players in this draft that has a bright future, and then kind of the opposite of DeAndre Hunter for Jarrett Culver. People know that he can shoot and he can drive and he played in the best Big 12 team and he can score. People know that. He can play defense. He can play really good defense. Very long on-ball defense. Very good. Even though he's kind of on the thinner side in terms of weight and strength, he's just one of those guys that, you just can't really budge. If he's standing still, you can't really budge him, and that's a good defender. So it's a good pick for the T-Wolves. I thought they were going to go point guard, and I like that they did. I like what they did here, pairing him with Wiggins and Cat. I like that, best available player here, so it made a lot of sense. I gave it an A, but it's the range we thought he would go, so it's nothing crazy, A+. And then pick 7 is kind of the similar situation. Everybody knew that the Bulls were taking Kobe White here. It was the obvious choice. It was the right choice. It's a good choice. It's just not that, wow choice. How'd they do that? So they needed a scoring point guard. They got that. I think, he's not the best passer, but I can see a pretty high IQ for the game. So I think it's something he actually can improve on and will. So the Bulls got their point guard. So it was a solid pick there. It was probably the most obvious pick there when the Bulls were on the clock. Pick 8, another traded pick. Technically, the Hawks took Jackson Hayes for the New Orleans Pelicans. He's headed to New Orleans to play with Zion. So that big man duo is going to be pretty good, and I like Jackson Hayes. I gave it a B+, which is still a good grade. I just thought they would go with a guy like Cam Reddish. I thought that would have been a little better pick, but doesn't mean Jackson Hayes isn't a good pick. So they got their big man of the future there with Jackson Hayes to go along with Zion Williamson. So solid pick, gave it a B+. At pick 9, Ryu Hachimura, I gave it a B+ because, first glance, when they first announced his name, I wasn't super high on him. Like, a little early. It's really growing on me. And I'll use that term a lot on some of these picks because, the Wizards really haven't had this type of player, a forward that can play very solid defense, but that can shoot too. He can score in different types of ways. The Wizards have been missing this for quite some time now, and it's kind of what they needed. So B+. I still like the player, even a little early. Pick 10, I gave it an A+. Cam Reddish was really growing on me. He's an NBA type player. He'll be much better, even right away than he was with his year at Duke in an NBA system, and just who he's getting paired with. It just makes so much sense. It's a great pick. The Hawks that they held on to pick 10 and still were able to get a guy like Cam. Bottom line is, if you followed my takes, I had a top 8 players, a clear-cut top 8. They were in their own group. They're instant impact players, and those 8 should have went in the top 8. I don't care if you needed something badly or not. So Cam Reddish was one of those 8. He should have went in the top 8. He didn't. It's an A+ pick. Pick 11. Cameron Johnson, this was originally the T-Wolves pick, went to the Suns. Probably one of the picks that is getting bashed the most. The trade itself, I wasn't a big fan of the trade itself for the Suns, but that's not what this, that's not where the grade comes in play here, because they traded back to get this type of player. If they traded up to get this type of player, then it's a different grade. They traded back, and another one that's kind of grown on me a little bit. It is a little early, but I like him with Devin Booker. He's going to be asked to shoot. He's going to pretty much stand outside and shoot. And that's going to open things up for really him because Devin Booker's standing there and he can shoot too in multiple different ways. But it's actually going to help Devin Booker out a lot more. So it could work out. Don't really agree with the exact trade, how they didn't get enough in my opinion. But since they traded back and this was the pick, it's okay. Not the best pick. I couldn't quite give it a C because he's going to help the team with his shooting. Pick 12 is PJ Washington. I gave it a B. Maybe a little early, just a few picks maybe, so it's not really early. High motor guy. Really like his game, just the way he plays. 100% effort all the time. You got to like that. It's the Hornets. It's hard to trust the Hornets. A lot of the draft picks just haven't. They're the same type of draft picks, and they just haven't really worked out. I think there's another Kid Gilchrist, same style player. Kid Gilchrist was the better prospect. He's been a solid player, but it hasn't really worked out a whole bunch. Washington's going to give you some good minutes, but is he going to be an all-star? No. So he gets a B. 13, Tyler Hero, another Kentucky guy. I'm not a huge fan of this pick. I thought it was a little early for Tyler Hero. I thought he was just kind of one of those guys that runs around the three-point line and takes a shot here and there. And he did a little more than that Kentucky, but it's totally different defense. SEC basketball, it's the NBA. He's going to be asked to mainly shoot threes, and he really wasn't. He hit some big shots, don't get me wrong, but he really wasn't as consistent as people think he was. Some shots, a lot of shots were really way off, too. You've seen him get a little too carried away sometimes, and this is really not what the Heat needed unless he was the best available player. So I'm not a huge fan of this pick. I thought it was a little early. I gave it a C+. Pick 14, Romeo Langford, maybe the best. I think he was. He was the best player on their board. You got to respect him for doing that. And that's why it stays in that A range. I think there was a couple other players left they were just as good and filled more of a need. So he'll go compete with Jaylen Brown, I guess, for the future, because maybe Brown won't be around forever. He came up in trade talks, but Brown's a much better prospect, much better player. But Langford's got some upside. I do like his game. A lot of guards that can play, I guess. Unless, they think that they can move Brown or Langford to point guard if they do miss out on their point guard Kyrie Irving. So, interesting. He's a good player at the end of the day. Pick 15 is Sekou Demboya from France. Pistons get him at pick 15. And this one's kind of a borderline AA+, because I did have him number 9 on my board. But I kind of expect him to go around this range, and he does come with some risk. The talent he played against was just terrible. I think I could go play over there. So, but the Pistons got better here with this pick. A guy that can play the 3 or the 4 spot, pretty darn athletic. Usually the foreigners that really end up being busts kind of lack athleticism, in my opinion. He's not lacking that, so that's a good sign. But still a little risky, but overall, it's a good pick. 16 is Chu Mo Kiki from Auburn. A little early. More than a little early, but I like his game a lot. I like his, passion for the game too. It's kind of the guy that, the Magic needed to get in there. He could play the 3 or the 4 spot. You saw Auburn really missed him. I think they could have won a national championship if he didn't get hurt. So overall, I like the player here. A little early, but still get a B. Nickeil Alexander-Walker, Nets original pick, goes to the Pelicans though. So the Pelicans get their Zion, obviously, and then they get their big man in Jackson Hayes. So now they need, that shooting guard, because Drew Holiday is a free agent. You get a guy here in Nickeil Alexander-Walker who can play that spot, but he also can play the 1 if Lonzo Ball doesn't really improve anymore. So kind of get a 2-for-1 here. It's around where I thought he would go. It's a good pick. Give it an A. Pick 18, Goga Bitadze from the Republic of Georgia to the Pacers. This is another borderline kind of C+, B- pick to me. I was a little confused. I'm guessing the plan is to make him the future power forward, kind of list at center, but he doesn't have the strength maybe, because they do have Miles Turner. I thought they would try to go, and I guess no reaching for a point guard or, someone like that, but it surprised me a little bit, so I gave it a B-. We're on to pick 19. And it's Luka Samanic to the Spurs. Another tough one, because I thought this was really early. But then again, I guess Popovich knows what he's doing, especially with the foreigners. So I kind of gave it that extra plus with the C, just because who it is. But it was a surprising one, a little early. I guess it's not surprising that the Spurs went with a foreigner, though. Pick 20 is going to be Matisse Thybulle from Washington. Celtics pick originally, but he's going to the Sixers. Give it a B+. A guy that has a lot of upside, another one that's growing on me. I think he has a lot of upside. He really carried that Washington team. He's got good defense, and he could score in different ways too. Kind of what the Sixers needed, because obviously maybe both Jimmy Butler and Tobias Harris will be gone. Maybe one will be back, so it still helps. So I think he's got some upside. With some time, I think he could be something special. But B+, because it was a little earlier than I thought, and they traded up to get him, but B+ is still a good letter grade there. 21 is Brandon Clarke, maybe the best pick of the first round. He was a top 10 player on my board, so an absolute steal. The Grizzlies trade for this pick. He is theirs, not the Thunder. And this is just a basketball. This is a ball player. He can play the 3, the 4. He can dribble. He can block shots. He can rebound. He can hit the mid-range too. He has a high IQ for the game. I love this pick. Probably my favorite pick of the first round. The Grizzlies had to make sure they get him. Good for them. They had him with John Morant, A+ in this pick. 22, the Celtics draft Grant Williams. Maybe not the biggest need, but I like Grant Williams. I like his game a lot. I didn't think he would go here, but this is where he should go. around this range. So it gets an A. I like this pick for the Celtics. 23 is the Thunder with an interesting pick. Darius Bazley. I didn't know a whole bunch about him. I know he took the year off and kind of just trained and got ready because you're allowed to do that. There's a way around these things. Seen a couple of the players last year. I never really agree with that. Taking a whole year out of basketball kind of questions. It could go either way. It could question the passion of their game because they're sitting out for a whole year. They don't want to go play with teammates and try to win a championship because maybe they don't care about winning, or they want to take the whole year to train and get ready for their dream, the NBA. So you could argue it either way. It hasn't really worked out for a lot of players in the past that's done it this way, but he's very athletic, very gifted player, a lot of upside. It might take some time. The Thunder knew they wanted him the whole time. This was their guy. They were trying to trade back all night because they knew it's kind of a downside, though, because they knew they can trade back and get him. If you know that guy's not that high on people's boards in your draft from, then maybe it's a little concerning. So I gave it a B. I like his upside. I like his athleticism. And I guess it's somewhat what the Thunder needed. So I gave it a B at pick 23, and it was originally the Jazz pick to the Grizzlies, to the Thunder. And then 24 is Ty Jerome. I'm not a huge fan of this pick. The Suns trading up to do so too. They passed on some good point guards earlier. They decided to trade back. Still passed on some good guards. I think they wanted Ty Jerome the whole way. And I don't know. I don't like his game for the NBA. I'm not a huge fan. He's kind of a high IQ player too. I guess knows the game. It's just not super flashy. He's not going to be anything special. So I'm not a huge fan of this pick and then trading up to do it. Weird draft plan for the Suns, to say the least. 25 is Nasir Little, and I was one of the ones that really wasn't as high on Nasir Little, but even I think they stole him and he dropped quite a bit, and the upside of him is ridiculous too, and I love the fit there at that small forward spot in the lineup after Damian Lillard and CJ McCollum. I love that. So a lot of upside here. Love this pick. A complete steal here. One of the better picks of the first round as well for the Zers. 26. This pick's another one that's growing on me. Dylan Windler to the Cavs. So they get Garland, who's going to play. They're going to use him and Sexton. So they'll switch them around a little bit. Garland's more of a shooter, so maybe he'll play the 2. And they get the small forward here in Windler, who is a shooter. They're making that shooting better. Reminds me of Klay Thompson a little bit. I know that's tough to say, Klay Thompson, but has some similarities. He won't be Klay Thompson, but I like him at the 3 for them. He'll be good right away for them. So that's a good pick there. Give him an A. 27 is Cammon Gely from Florida State. Another player that was kind of growing on me in the process. The Nets' original pick goes to the Clippers, so Clippers kind of get that high motor guy. They love these types of guys, and it works out for them, works out for Doc. High motor guy, gets his blocks, and it gets an A- there, somewhat the range we thought maybe he would go. They trade up a little bit there to make sure they get him. 28 is Jordan Poole, another one that's kind of growing on me because I didn't really have him great in the first round, but I love this fit here. This is a Warriors-type player, and it's a good fit. It's kind of what they needed multiple things, pretty much everything besides point guard, because mainly they needed big men, but then with Katie and Clay getting injured, unfortunately, they needed guys like this, and this is a guy that fits. It's a B+. I can see him being a key contributor right away for the Warriors there. 29 is Keldon Johnson. To me, the best Kentucky prospect. That's my opinion. It looks like I was way off based on where they went, but this was the best Kentucky prospect in my opinion. Not changing that. Didn't like the Spurs earlier pick. This one I love, obviously. A+. A good player, shooting guard, has the strength to play the 3 as well. I'm losing my voice here. Too much talking. So, the strength to play the 3, I think he plays the 2, but he can take the ball up as well. And to get the water break. So I really like that pick. One of the better picks in the first round. I thought he was Kentucky's best player, really. That's my opinion, I guess. 30, love this pick too. The Cavs get another guy. Not necessarily a shooter, he can't shoot, but another guy that can score in many different ways in Kevin Porter Jr. I thought he dropped way further than I thought he would. So the Bucks pick originally, and then the Cavs at 30. So interesting. If Poole was there, would Beeline have taken him? Another shooter, possibly. He went to the Warriors, though. But Porter's a good ISO man. He's got some really good moves. Got that James Harden step back, not quite as dramatic. I like that pick a lot. So that's the first round. Like I said, we got quite a few second-round picks that I really, really liked. So if I went through the second-round picks in my head, kind of, and if I gave them an A or an A+, we're talking about them right here. So 31 was Nick Claxton. Could have been a first-round pick. I mean, this is borderline out of Georgia here. And the Nets tried to trade back at this point, but they ended up taking the best player available. Not the biggest need, but the best player available. And that was Nick on their board, and that was Nick Claxton. So they got a good big man that can play the 4 or the 5. Next one I really liked was, I had a feeling the Celtics would end up with Carson Edwards somehow. Top scorer in this draft, should have been a first-round pick. They needed the point guard of the future that can score like this. It's an A+ pick. Great job of the Celtics. I just had a feeling they were going to end up with them. They just got him with the second-round pick, so that's an A+ steal. Next pick, Bruno Fernando, traded to the Hawks here in this pick. They needed a center. They got one here, a guy that could have been a first-round pick, but kind of realistic. He'd go 34. I like his passion. I like his length, can block some shots. It gets an A. 38, Daniel Gafford to the Bulls. I love this pick for the Bulls. You know, I last mock draft I had him going first round, so it's a good pick at 38, but not too far off if you said before he would go 38. Like, that's realistic. But any Bulls fans, this is what I think about Daniel Gafford here. If Taj Gibson and Bobby Portis had a baby, it'd be Daniel Gafford. So I think they'll like that a lot, too. And he happened to come from Arkansas, which probably Portis played from, but a lot of Taj Gibson I see in him. They needed a Robin Lopez, you know, like that big man replacement from the bench with Wendell and Larry Markin starting. So I love this fit here. It's what they needed, A+. 41, Eric Pascal from Nova to the Warriors, gave it an A. Not blown away by this pick for an A+, but I gave it an A. You know, they need another guy like this, you know, somewhat similar to Draymond, maybe a little better shot, maybe not as strong down low. But, you know, kind of the range I thought he would go, but it made sense. The next one here was pick 42, Admirals Schofield from Tennessee. I like the Tennessee guys a lot. You know, a lot of heart, high motor guys that can play. Sixers pick originally. The Wizards got him. I think strong enough to play the 3, even though he's a little undersized. But I think he'll play the 2. Pretty clutch shooter to Tennessee there. Next one was Bull. Surprising he dropped this far, but at the same time, you understand the risk, you know, durability. Needs to put on weight, some strength. Nuggets trade for this pick. Still a steal, though, either way. And he'll learn a lot from Jokic. And the next pick was Kyle Guy. You know, this was, to me, I don't know how Ty Jerome's is that much better of a prospect than Kyle Guy. Kyle Guy, high IQ player, very smart player, can shoot. He's pretty clutch, obviously, we've seen. I think he's a very smart player, something that the Knicks needed. He'll go play with RJ Barrett. It's an A+ pick there. And then we got one more. You know, I like the Tennessee guys. I'm not a Tennessee fan. I'm a Notre Dame fan, but I'm a fan of these players. Jordan Bone is maybe not the same in terms of why I like Grant Williams and Admiral Schofield so much. You know, but Bone is maybe the most athletic guy in the draft. Freak athlete, so fast, so quick. Those guys in this game, this basketball, have so much upside, and you just want to work with them. For the guy with that much upside, that much freak athleticism, speed, and quickness, to go 57, 3 picks away from the last pick is pretty crazy. The Pistons, you know, good to pair him with Reggie Jackson, learn from him. Could be better than Reggie Jackson, actually, down the line. Yeah, that's saying a lot, but that's a good pick there. But that's going to do it. I'm losing my voice here. Too much talking. Got other videos to get to, too, for the next few days. So can't wait for that. If you don't subscribe, please do so. We work real hard here, and we bring you daily sports videos. That's going to do it for this one, though. Thanks, everyone, for their support. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.